podcast, and I'm Darbi.
Hi guys, I'm Kaitlin.
Well, listen, we have so many exciting things to tell you. Happy New Year. Yes. It is 2023, so you know we are ready to rock and roll. Here, I'd say so. Listen, we already have things planned. Coming on March 4th, Activate Conference. It's going to be at the Crazy Water Hotel in Mineral Wells, Texas. You don't want to miss it. Kaitlin and I will be there, so will Yuri, our guest today. Yeah. So it's going to be phenomenal, and because we are all about it, we are actually doing a giveaway for a ticket to the conference. So if you want to enter that, you can hop on Kaitlin or I's Facebook page. You can see how to enter that. We're going to be doing that drawing today, so you don't want to miss it. Just get on there, comment your favorite episode from 2022, and that's it, right?
That's it.
And share it. And
that's, you don't want to miss out. That is such a great way to start the new year in March. It's going to be so fun. So go do that giveaway. We cannot wait to give away a ticket. Today, part of my voice, all right, this 17 degree to 75 weather is really killing me here in Texas, all right? But today we have a really special guest. We are so excited to start a brand new round of guests on our podcast this year, and we're starting off with a bang.
Yeah, we are.
Because today we have Miss Yuri Huntington.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining us, Yuri.
It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you guys so much for asking.
Of course. Yeah. We are so excited to get to know Yuri better. Yuri is from California, originally.
Yes.
Which part of California?
Oh, Porterville, California. So that's central.
Okay.
Very close to Fresno, in between Fresno and Bakersfield. So.
Okay. But right now, she's residing in Breckenridge, Texas.
Yes, with my husband. Been there for a decade. So Breckenridge, Texas is
just
home
showing
right
how much you trust the Lord.
That's right.
I know, right?
Breckenridge, Lord. Okay. We love some people from Breckenridge.
We do.
We love Breckenridge. There's just always a running joke if you're from Grand.
Right.
You know, we're rivals. Anyways, we're so glad that you're here, Yuri.
Yeah, we are.
And we're so excited to get to know you.
Thank you.
We would love just to start with, just to take it back to the very beginning of telling us your faith story. How did you come to know the Lord?
Yeah. Well, my dad was, he was born and raised in Mexico. He came from Mexico to the States to, do a new life and do the whole thing. Well, when I was about 7, 8 years old, he had meningitis. And so he got sick and he went to the hospital. The doctors told him that he wasn't going to live. And it was just a very hard sickness and he wasn't going to make it. And so the entire family was getting ready to have his family come from Mexico and say goodbye and everything. But the Lord miraculously healed him, and the doctors did not know what happened.
Wow.
We can only label that as a miracle. So he is living today and very healthy, but it was there where we started going to church, and we recognized God as a miraculous healer. And so that's how my faith journey began.
Wow. So did your dad have faith at the time that this was happening?
He actually was... He was born and raised in Mexico, so the culture there the religion is Catholic.
Yeah.
But so he didn't really recognize the miracle working power of God until he got sick, and my cousin went to go pray for him in his hospital bed, and he was healed after that.
That's so cool. That is amazing.
Yeah, and so it just started that way. And I was about 9 years old when we started going to church. He started going to a local church there in Porterville, California. And I gave my life to the Lord. I was around that age. And I remember my mom and my sister and I standing in front of this man saying, repeat after me. And then my mom, I was so tiny, I was looking up at her. And I remember her laughing and crying at the same time. So I didn't know what was going on, but whatever it was awesome. And so I just repeated after the man, and I got saved, So I said the sinner's prayer. I think I was 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Well, we talk a lot here about knowing Jesus as Savior, but would you say that's also when you came to know Him as Lord as well, or was that later on?
So that would be later on, because honestly, me being little and not fully knowing the difference between that, it was just having to experience something different later on in life. So I would say when I was more an adult, I gave my life to the Lord, but then I accepted him as being sovereign over my life and him showing me what direction I need to go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a little while after.
You know, I love, Yuri, that you can testify to the fact that God still performs miracles.
Yes.
Like he's still
That's just one. That's one. There's so many.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
Powerful. In front of me. Yeah. Like I could give stories. That's a powerful encounter with the Lord. Like, and no one can change that or get that. No one can give you a different experience than you already experienced.
That's exactly it.
Powerful,
Yes.
Like a powerful encounter with the Lord, it just wrecks you, and that's it. It's over. No one can tell me he can't do it.
That's right.
It's over. Like I already know him as that. So.
I mean, that's exactly the heartbeat of say so. I mean, that's our scripture, you know, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. And it's because we just so believe in the power of a testimony, right? Because no one can take it from you. And there's nothing more powerful than when you can say, no, I know, right? And I believe with my whole heart, you know?
Yes, that's it. I got wild stories.
We're here for it. Tell us.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is Yuri as a 20, 30-year-old? Like, what's life look like?
Okay,
then?
so when I was 20, I was waiting on the Lord for my husband. I was like, I'm so
somebody
ready.
out there, that's a word.
I was like, Jesus, where's my husband? I want to travel the nations and preach the gospel. Like I was so ready. When I encountered him as Lord, as sovereign over my life, I was 19.
Okay.
And so there's a whole story on my, what happened there. But I received him or rededicated my life when I was 19. And then I started working in the ministry, like volunteering in the ministry. And so I was 20-ish years old when I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to get married, I'm ready for this. And so I was praying and waiting. And then I started developing a list of what I wanted my husband to be, all of this. And so writing it all down. So in my early 20s, that's what was going on. And then I wasn't getting married. So I'm thinking, okay, Bible college. Not really going for marriage, but because I knew that I was called to preach to the nations. Like I knew that was my calling. And so I went to World Harvest Bible College in Ohio. And so I went there when I was 22. And then I thought I was going to find my husband there. Didn't.
Where is he?
I know. I was like, where I was looking at the time. I was like, I'm getting older. I know. I've been all over the world, just a couple states. And so finally, I graduated when I was 24 from Bible college. And then so I went back home to California. And then that's when I first became the youth leader there at my local church. And so a lot of the things that I learned at Bible college, I applied there at my local church. Still waiting for my husband. And the list was getting longer because I was like, an adult waiting and mature, so I'm like writing all the things down. And so in my mid 20s, I was like 27 when the Lord told me, he said, you're going to meet your husband when you're 30. And so get ready. And it's going to be fast. So just get ready. And so I'm thinking, oh, well, then if it's going to be fast, my parents are going to be like, I met him yesterday and then now I'm marrying him the next day. So I have to introduce them without them knowing, like, I didn't want them to be scared that I'm marrying some random guy because the Lord said I was just going to meet him and we're going to get married, right? So I took that literal. And so I started a vlog. Before vlogging was a thing on YouTube, I started vlogging my husband and who he was and what the Holy Spirit was telling me he was and everything. So that was in my late 20s. So I was 27, started making these videos for my husband. And then at 29, there he is in front of me, and he's everything the Lord said he was, and I have it all recorded on videos before I met him. Everything that the Lord said that he was going to be, he had all those qualities. And so and so we actually so now fast forward to our wedding, and so I'm 33 when I said I do. So when I was 19, I was ready to get married. I was 33 when I said I do. So there's the longest wait.
Years.
Yeah. So forever. And so anyway, at our reception, he's Sri Lankan and black, and so we had a ceremony that was related to his culture, and then we had our reception Mexican culture. And so during during the Mexican culture ceremony, testimony, I had those videos playing,
my goodness.
of like who my husband was. So
Love it.
that's a little bit of the little snippet of my 20s and 30s,
Wow.
early 30s anyway. So
Oh my gosh, so
it was-
cool.
yeah,
Well,
it was-
that's such a good testimony though to the waiting, right? Because you
Yeah.
were actively waiting. You
Yes.
weren't doing
True.
nothing
Yeah.
praying. You
Yeah.
went ahead and said, "Okay, God, I'm going to do ministry. I'm going to
Yeah.
live for you. I'm going to do all the things that you've called me to do and asked me to do, faithfully trusting and
Yes.
believing that He would provide the husband that you believed for."
Yeah. And he needed to be somebody, because I was going to go all over the world to preach the gospel. Like in my mind, I was going to be with my husband going to the 1040 window. The 1040 window is where Jesus has never been preached. It's that specific location where Jesus has not been preached. And that was my life to the Lord. I dedicated my life to the Lord at 19. I said, whatever you want me to do. And in my late 20s, before he told me, that I will get married, I was on my face before the Lord, crying and weeping and saying, if you want me to stay single, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But take this desire
I
out first,
All right.
So all of that, but my prayer strongly, because I told him, I said, my life is for you. I'm a living sacrifice. So
Right,
if you want
that's
me
it.
to minister without a husband and you want me to dedicate myself to you, Lord, I'll do it. I know you'll give me the strength. And so that was my prayer with him. And then I was like, so if you want me to do it, I'll do it. And I said, but I need my husband to know that we're going all over the world, because he has to be alongside me. I
Right.
need him to be more in depth with the word, all these things, because I did have a list, and so that was part of it. And so I was like, I need him to know the whole thing, the whole word, all of it. And so anyway, the Lord is so beautiful, because yes, I was actively waiting and asking specifically for things, but at the same time, that Gethsemane prayer, let your will be done, because I'll let go of it
Right.
all if you want me to right now, God, but whatever you want me to do. And so at the end, the Lord gave me the desires of my heart. And so he did give me a husband who we went to Pakistan to minister.
Wow.
Our very first ever together ministry was to Pakistan, and the Lord just knocked it out of the park. And the beautiful thing about that, a couple years later, we had already been married and everything. I was getting ready for a sermon that I was preparing, and I was praying about waiting for and for my husband and stuff. And the Lord, I had not known this at all up until this moment I was getting ready to minister. The Lord told me, do you remember you were praying for someone that would minister with you in the 1040 window? I was like, yes. I was like, yeah, you gave him to me. Yeah. And so he showed me on the map right underneath India, and all in that Middle Eastern area on the map, that's the 1040 window. And then right below that is a little island called Sri Lanka. And that's where he's from.
Wow.
And so the Lord did above and beyond. He
Yeah.
gave me someone from that culture.
Man.
Something I didn't ask for, but he knew that I'd like it.
So
'cause
like the Lord, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love him.
he's my favorite.
Yeah,
my goodness.
So
he's ours
awesome.
too.
Yeah.
Well, I love it that God is always preparing us for what He's already prepared for us, and it's in that surrendering and that
good.
process of God, I believe that you have this thing for me, but in the meantime, when I say I'm ready, I want you to actually get me ready and get your husband ready, or whoever it is you're partnering with. There is a preparation and a process to that readiness, because I think our purpose is really the process. Our purpose is not the destination. I think it's the whole process of getting
the
us.
journey.
Yeah. And I feel like your story is so just proof of that.
Yeah.
So do you guys have more things planned? Where are you right now in life?
Well, yes, we have a lot of things planned. It just, we were talking earlier about just different processes in life. And when we've been in the ministry for a while, we've kind of encountered different types of things. And, our stories don't go without mentioning, some hurts of ministry and things. And wherever we're at and wherever there's humans, there's going to be some hurtful things, and myself included, because I can get pretty fleshly too, me and my Latina spice. So, there's a lot of that, and we're all growing and we're all in different stages and places. But for my husband and I, our most recent season of testing was a long wait and not knowing exactly what we were waiting for. We knew in our spirit that we're called to nations. We know that 100%, and we've ministered in different nations, but we know that there's much more. And so just that anticipation in our spirit, knowing that there's much more, but our right now experiences are not looking like what we know our spirit has tapped into. And so we're, in ministry together at our last season. We were in ministry together, and we were in this particular ministry, and there were some hard things happening. And for a while I was like, God, you just tell me when the door needs to be closed so we can go forward. Like, what do you want us to do? And so both Paul and I were just praying and waiting, and it was hard. It was so hard because of the stuff that was happening in the hard stuff and the hard moments. And so that season of waiting really matured us in different spiritual aspects, and also healed us in a deeper way. And of course, it did a lot for us spiritually, like being able to minister in a different aspect that we would not have known how to minister had we not experienced what we experienced. And so now, in our right now season, because there is that seed time and harvest, and so we had been planting seeds spiritually together and praying and pressing forward for a certain thing, and there was that time span of waiting, and now right now currently my husband and I are in the harvest season, and we feel so refreshed.
Thank you, Lord.
I know, we feel so good. We know that this is processes, and there's going to be more seed times and harvests, but right now we are in our harvest of the time that we waited, and it is beautiful. So currently he is an ordained minister. He pastors an unorthodox way of pastoring right now with the digital media after COVID and everything. He's a media minister is what he is. And so he has an online podcast and online sermons that you can find. It's all Transition Church. And he's currently on this network called Niche Network, and we're launching it this month, at the end of this month, and it's a network that he's building within the network that he's on, Niche Network, and so his network is Transition Network, and so he is ministering on there, and he's going to be contacting different people, and some of my Bible college friends from back in the day were calling them and contacting them and letting them know if they would want a slot on this network, and just preaching the gospel all over the world is our goal. Really, that's really what we're going to do.
So do you feel like reaching the nations, which is what you said you felt like your calling was, is through this in part? Or
that's a portion of it, because we will be traveling and ministering. I mean, we have already. We've been to different places, Jamaica, Belize, Pakistan, different places like that. But we know that this next season or this next phase of our ministry, it is going to be digital type of ministry, but also we'll be, traveling in different places. As far as the date or whatever, we know that's in our spirit, but we know, and it's coming. But we don't see it in the natural realm. We're living it already in the spiritual realm. So it's all happening now. But the time and heaven, it kind of doesn't have the time,
Yeah, I know. I understand.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah.
I love that waiting is so much a part of your testimony before your husband and with your husband, and waiting is so challenging.
It is.
So it's so inspiring just to hear you say, I'm just going to wait on the Lord. And I think, Yuri, I'd love for you to share. I think that your faith it almost feels unattainable for the normal person, because just listening to you, it was like I'm all yours, Lord. And it was a matter of a moment that you said, yeah, I'll do whatever you want me to do with my life. I would just love for you to share more about that. At 19, you said, Lord, okay, you're Lord over my life.
Yeah.
Do what you want me to do. And then, you said, like Darbi said, that, you want to go and preach the gospel to the nations. How can you encourage somebody that is like, I don't even understand faith like that. I don't.
Yeah. Really, what do we have to lose if our life is given to us by God? And if we can have that perspective of, there is nothing about me without God. And so when we have that knowing that my life was gifted to me by Him, there's nothing outside of that. There's nothing outside of the Lord.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were just praying. I have friends that are crazy. for the Lord. They're
You
wild.
gotta have some of
Like,
those.
this is wild. And she calls me just because the Lord said, and she's just that kind of way, And so we're on the phone, and then she, just starts praying over me. And I'm on the phone, she's on the phone, I'm in my living room on my couch, and I'm just laying there. Like, she just took me into the third heaven. I'm like, oh my God, this is a powerful encounter right now, and it's over the phone. And so I'm on the floor, like laying on my bed, like on the couch, and I'm just like in his presence. And I know she has kids, and I can hear him in the background, like, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, say something. Like, she needs to go. I'm sure she needs to go. But I don't want to leave the presence of God. And I'm afraid if I say something, it'll mess it up or whatever. I'm saying all of this because this is what she says. And this is the answer to your question, like to the people. How do I encourage or motivate those that are in this spot, like that faith? She said, Yuri, because I was telling her, I'm sorry, I know you got kids and you got to go. And she goes, Yuri, I pray for moments like this. And when they happen, I don't want to leave them. This is the reason why we're alive, is to be in his presence. There's nothing more important than that. And yeah, her kids are little and, she'll tend to them and things, but that response to me was so powerful. And my husband has demonstrated that for me too in real time and me living with him. Because I've never lived with anyone outside of my family. And when I met him, he clearly demonstrated how important it is for his presence. Because my personality was always quick and go. And because it's easy in the spirit to say, I believe and trust you, Lord.
Yeah.
But in the logical sense and natural, practical things, it was hard for my personality type to just say, okay, all yours, without having the ABC plan and the 1, 2, 3, because I am that way.
Yes.
And so having that in front of me with my husband, he also taught me where it doesn't, nothing else matters. Like the things that I want to do and have plans to do and all of my scheduling and journaling and all the things, the Lord he can say, I'll give you that, but close it. Let me give you something else before that. And you don't get to know the timing on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we think that we can, in the striving and in the doing, we can make things happen sooner. God, if I go ahead and do all the work, then can you just snap your finger and do the part that's yours to do? Instead of understanding that in his presence, he's doing already so much of the work.
Yeah.
I mean, in his presence, he's clearing the path.
Yeah. And he's fixing the stuff inside of us that had we catapulted there sooner or prematurely, we would have made a big mess.
That's
a
right.
big mess.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it is making the time for his presence to get the download, to get the spiritual, the wisdom and the strength and the power of the Spirit. That only comes, like you said, in his presence.
Yeah.
We can't conjure that on our own.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a secret about me. In the very beginning of ministry, because I went to Bible college and I went to a hoop and hollering church, and that's fine and it's great. But what that did for me was a lot of show. And I would preach in the past, I would preach to show off for myself. Like I would preach and, I know all this stuff and whatever. And so the waiting and the letting go, God cleaned that first.
So good.
So that I can, when I was on these different platforms or doing the ministry, that wasn't wrapped inside of me, but it was broken off of me. And
they can see more of him, less of you.
And I've been so broken.
But I love that you had a willingness and a humility to say, God, I know there are things in me that I need you to clean up.
Yeah.
So I can be a vessel of honorable use.
Yes. 100%.
I love it.
I know. I'm so encouraged by you, Yuri. I feel like you're just what I needed to hear this morning.
Best way to start the year.
Isn't it? Isn't it? God is so good. He is.
He
the
is.
best.
I'm overwhelmed right now, you know? And I think I am so motivated. I hope all of you listening are motivated that getting in the presence of God is literally, you want to change your year, you want to change your future. The only way to do it is with Him. And you've got to get with Him in that. All the doing that you plan for won't get you there. Like being in His presence will, and spending time with Him. And so, Yuri, thank you so much for sharing a bit about your walk and how you got to where you are. Listen, we're going to continue the conversation with Yuri, and we're going to hear more about how she hears from the Holy Spirit and what that looks like coming up in our next episode.
That's right. Thanks, Yuri.
Thank you. Thank you very much.